Hi, my name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help people to build intentional and significant legacies for themselves and their families by coaching them in real estate. Now, a big part of that is just making sure everyone is informed and has clarity about what's going on in the market as they're making decisions. So, in order to make sure everyone's set up for success, I create weekly market updates on what's going on in the area. This week, we're focusing on what is going on at the 30,000 foot view in the state and what is going on just everywhere put together at the moment. So we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be taking a longer view and looking at the past couple of years and seeing how our volume and our average sale price has done over the past couple of years. So we're going to be getting to all of that in just a couple minutes. Before we get started though, make sure you do give this video a like, make sure that you subscribe, and as always, if you have any questions or concerns, make sure you post those down below. Now without further ado, let's go and jump into today's video. So looking at the market, the first thing that we want to check out is the number of total houses that are on the market. In other words, how many options do buyers have out here? So what we're seeing is last year, during the time period that we're looking at from a beginning of August to around the beginning of September, is that last year there was about 3,747 homes that were on the market. This year, we're seeing a 26% drop in the amount of inventory down to 2,763 homes. So that's pretty significant, and it really does go to explain a lot more of the things that we're going to be showing you here, like the total number of properties that are under contract. This really means that, the fact that we're seeing less inventory and we're seeing a higher number of properties that are going under contract during this time really does go a long way to kind of explain how quickly and how strong this current real estate market is during this time period. Because last year during the time period we're looking at about 666 homes went under contract, so devilishly good time of the year. And this year, same time period, about 919. So that's a pretty good increase. That's what we want to see. It does mean that there's demand out there for homes, and people are in a position where they can actually purchase them. Looking at the pending ratio, this is going to make it a little bit more, kind of informs this graph over here, because this shows we don't have a whole lot of inventory out there. And compounding that issue is that this time last year, we saw there was about a 36% of the homes that were on the market were already pending. Looking at it this year, is we were actually seeing about 57% of the already slim inventory is pending. So that means that roughly only 40% of the total active homes that are on the market are actually available. You start breaking that down to your price range, and you can see why things are moving so quickly. Okay. Now, I also really want to know the number of new listings that are coming on the market, because one thing I was kind of anticipating is I thought as soon as we came out of the pandemic, we would see a sudden surge of inventory because everyone who had to wait to keep their homes off the market suddenly had to go on at the same time. I'm really not seeing that. This graph is super not to scale. We're seeing that these last year about 863 new homes went on the market. Same time period this year, 867 across the entire state during that time period. So that's really not anything to really write home about. That's pretty similar. Now we kind of break this down and look into the different markets that we're working in to kind of give you an idea if it might be impacting the individual markets. With the new listings coming on, that's something we're definitely paying attention to with Anchorage and the MatSu Valley markets. But as a whole, we're not seeing a huge surge of inventory. Now, number of listings sold, this just means the total number of properties that have actually sold during this time period and actually went ownership to another person, not just going under contract. This one's really not up to scale either. I'm going to have to go back and change this graph, but it does serve the purpose of showing that during this time period, about 682 homes sold during this time period last year. This year, 788. So that is a pretty significant jump there. Sold volume, you guys can read that. That just means the total amount of all the houses combined together. This is what it would amount to. So even though we have way less inventory, 26% less, we're still doing pretty darn good talking about the overall number of properties that we've sold. Now looking at kind of the average sold price here. Again, not 100% drawn to scale, but it does serve to show that the average price is going up. And we're going to talk about this more in a separate graph, but I just wanted you to kind of see this right now. This is, again, just for the overall state. Days on market, this one is a little bit more drawn to scale, but what it does is it shows you just how drastically this market has sped up, because historically, this time of year, we're sitting right around 44 days on the market. This year, we're right at 38 days on the market. And that is all the different price ranges. So everything from the little 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 400 square foot property in the middle of nowhere, all the way to the $2 million mansion up on the hillside. It's the average of all of those. Getting any kind of movement in the days on market is a pretty significant effort, kind of a Herculean effort. And what we're seeing here then is that it's a 6-day decrease that's happened. So that's really significant and goes a long way to explain just how quickly this market is moving now compared to the year before. Has this been useful for you so far? If it has, make sure you give this video a like. If you have a specific market that you're wanting to get some more information about, please make sure that you post those down below, and I'll be happy to provide some more information in the future that might be able to answer some of your questions. So let's go ahead and jump back into it though. This next part is one of my favorite. Now the last thing I really want to look at here is going to be kind of looking at the amount of volume and the average price sold for the entire state over the past couple of years. This is a really interesting graph in a couple places here. So what we're seeing is that these bars represent the total number of volume. In other words, what all the prices of all the homes that sold combined together. So it gives you an idea of just how much property is being sold. Obviously, you're always going to see kind of a spike during the summertime because that's just when people are wanting to buy and sell. Now these little bars here, the solid one is the average sold price in the market. This kind of grayer line right over here, what that is that's the average listing price during that time period when it first went on the market. So this is pretty typical. We see people are going to start out a little high from where they need to be, and they're going to have to make some kind of an adjustment usually once they've kind of got themselves oriented with the market. So what we're seeing here is this is pretty typical, around this time of year in October in 2018. Now we got to November of 2018, and those of you who either watched the news or lived here know that we had a pretty significant earthquake happen during that time. So you're going to see kind of the average sold price kind of dropped along with the amount of volume that's sold. Part of that is just because it's seasonal. I think also a part of that was that we had some consumer doubt during that time as well, when people were just a little hesitant to purchase during that time. So it kind of shook people up a little bit. Because looking over here, January of 20, let's do January, that's not it. Yep, looking at January of Oh, yeah, that is right. Okay, looking at January of 2020, you see obviously it's a drop in the volume, but the sales price is a lot higher than what you'd see over here. This is around 283,000. This one is around 313,000. So kind of a significant difference in the average there. So let's just look at some of the trends here. Obviously, it's going to be pretty high during the summertime. That's to be expected. We all kind of went down into the lockdown around this time right here. What's curious is the total volume that's sold dropped. I mean, look at that compared to, let's look at May, or let's look at the April-May timeframe this year compared to the April and May of, this year right over here. So we see usually we're kind of ramping up, and we're going to do that nice little bell curve and then come down during the wintertime. This one, it's all pent up, and then poof, it just shoots through the roof right over here. And then we've got really 2 record months just back to back in the total number of volume that's sold. And what's curious is even though this was lower in the total number of volume, the actual average price during this time increased, okay? Because over here, it stays pretty consistent. It's staying pretty in lockstep with itself, with the volume and the volume sold and the sales price. Over here, you see kind of a divergence of the two. So that's pretty significant. We see a drop right over here, and this right over here is going to be the past couple of months here, where we see the average sold price has been right around that 347,000, where it's currently resting, and that is a record over the past couple of years in addition to the volume. So really what this is showing us is, we can track the impacts of the pandemic, and we're starting to kind of get an understanding of how that's kind of impacted things. We're seeing there's been a lot of kind of pent up energy right here, from not having a whole lot of sold volume to suddenly just shooting through the roof here. So that's that's something to be expected. And we're also seeing that the average sold price overall for the entire state has gone up as well. So good things. Those are good things. It's going to kind of depend on your specific price range that you're in, and also in your specific area in your market, because each one's going to be different. But this is just the overall view for the past couple of years for the volume versus the average sold price. So to wrap it all together and summarize everything, what we're seeing is inventory remains low, okay? It does remain low, even though we're starting to see a little bit of an uptick in the number of listings coming onto the market compared to this time last year compared to the same time last year. So that's an indication we need to keep a close eye on. Overall across the state, not a big difference, but you can start seeing that changing within the specific marketplaces. So that's something we need to watch at the local level. Okay, so that inventory remains low, demand remains high because the pending ratio is still roughly around 57%, and we're seeing the days on market to remain very low as well. And that means just more indications the market is moving quickly, and we are also seeing the average sold price is, as a whole, across the entire state, is increasing. So I hope this has been useful for you. Really, the big takeaway is that if you are a seller, then if you've been on the fence for a while waiting for a good market to sell, you're likely not going to find any better than we have right now. If you're looking to buy, it's still possible. We can still make sure you're one of the people that find what you're looking for. There are certain things we need to do in order to set you apart from the pack and make sure you are set up for success there. So if that's something that you're wanting to do, by all means, download my app. That's going to be in the description down below. You'll have the ability to do a bunch of cool stuff with it. There'll be a little clip right after this that's going to walk you through and show you how to do that if you want to start searching for properties and finding the perfect place. And like I said, I sure hope this has been useful though. And if you do have any questions, you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can do that through a link to my Facebook page down below and be able to answer any questions you might have. Downloading my app is pretty simple. You simply scroll to the description section of my videos, click on the link there. It's going to take you to my website. From there, scroll down, hit download app. It'll take you to a place where you enter in your phone number. Enter that in, click send link. It's going to text you a link to the App Store. And from there, you'll have to click on that, enter in your email address, and then it's going to register you to the app and you'll be able to start modifying your search. You can modify number of bedrooms, bathrooms, property type. You have a lot of modifications you can do on there, or just draw a shape to it. From there, you'll have the ability to go and just browse through, create your own specific saved searches on there that's going to make sense for you. Go ahead and add notes just so it makes sense. And that's going to be kind of the basic search capabilities. There are a lot of extra bonuses and things to this that make it really beneficial, like walking you through the entire process as a buyer or seller and giving you all the details that's involved with each one of those steps. So never at any point are you going to be lost in the process. So we've kind of just scratched the surface here, but that's just to get you started.